Lugft Huron, now known as Huron Blackheart or the Blood Reaver, was the chapter master of the Astral Claws, a renegade space marine chapter which gained notoriety as the piratical Red Corsairs. He was also the ruler of the planet Badab Primaris, which he governed with an iron fist, earning him the title of the Tyrant of Badab. While not a fervent follower of chaos himself, Huron nonetheless pays homage to the Ruinous Powers as a way to further his own power. Before his fall to chaos, Huron was armed with a suit of Terminator armor, an artificer, heavy flamer, and a relic lightning claw called the Ghost Razors. After his fall to chaos, Huron armed himself with a power axe and the Tyrant's Claw, a monstrous bionic power fist with a built-in heavy flamer. His head has extensive implants as a result of his injuries during the Badab War, and he can only wear a helmet with great discomfort after adjusting his prosthetics to accept one. He is also accompanied by a semi-intelligent creature of unknown nature, which he calls his Hamadria. The creature never helps its master directly, but instead acts as a familiar, allowing Huron access to certain psychic powers. The creature is also rumored to be able to read thoughts and transmit them to Huron, which, if true, could explain his survival from the many attempts on his life by assassins. Much of Huron's early history has been heavily censored or erased by the Imperium. What is known is that he was inducted into the Astral Claws chapter, where he first came to prominence as a scout novitiate during the later stages of the Rebos Crusade. During the campaign on the world of Lugft, the young Huron battled his way through psychic assaults and phantasms to kill an Eldar warlock with his bare hands in order to save his squad. He was later assigned to the chapter's Devastator Reserves, again proving himself and demonstrating natural leadership and tactical insight through many battles. As time progressed, he also proved to be unusually skilled in plotting fire support patterns, which quickly gained him further honor and reputation. Seeing the application of firepower as its own mental challenge, he rapidly moved through the ranks and next served in the chapter's 3rd Company and finally the 1st Company as a veteran. In the 1st Company, he rose in rank over far more senior Marines. After his stint in the 1st Company, Huron was gifted the honor of serving as captain of the chapter's 4th Company. It was in this role that his abilities truly blossomed, utilizing his strategic prowess in the use of firepower to create innovative tactics that allowed him to defeat far larger enemy armies. His dynamism and growing circle of personal followers created some unease in the chapter, but he was nonetheless elevated to chapter master in late M41. This came after the death of his predecessor, Rovik Blake, who was killed in pursuit of the Orcs, slain by warboss Vorg Manburner. Huron and his chapter were later assigned to patrol the Maelstrom, an area of warp and real space overlap in the Ultima Segmentum. Though an able leader in many respects, time would prove that Huron lacked the selfless dedication to humanity necessary in an Imperial commander. As his forces spent the years enforcing the Imperial cordon around the warp anomaly, Huron's mental condition worsened to the point that he became paranoid and suspicious. Meanwhile, the wider Imperium largely ignored the anomaly since it posed no immediate major threat. Much of the tithe from the surrounding sectors, including Huron's own, was sent abroad, which only contributed to the chapter master's discontent. This isolation and aggravation fueled Huron's megalomania as he began to steadily distance himself from the Imperium, hoarding planetary tithes for his own forces. His first overt act of rebellion occurred in 901 of M41, when he destroyed an Imperial investigation fleet sent to Badab. 3 other chapters joined his rebellion. In what became known as the Badab War, which lasted a little over a decade, several chapters were dispatched to Badab to put down Huron's rebellion. Though the war went well for Huron in its opening years, as the wider Imperial war machine awakened, it became clear that the Astral Claws' efforts were in vain. Eventually, a large inquisitorial and Astartes task force broke the stalemate, and the mutineers were pushed back to their homeworld of Badab. In 912 of M41, the Loyalists made their final push onto Badab. and in the battle for the Palace of Thorns, Huron was defeated. Additionally, in the fighting, the right side of his body was destroyed by a melter blast from the dying loyalist Captain Drukal Androcles of the Star Phantoms. With Badab lost, the remaining Astral Claws took their crippled chapter master and escaped into the Maelstrom. Thanks to the Lord Apothecary Garyon and Forge Master Valthex, the Tyrant managed to survive his wounds, and the Chapter Tech Marines were able to completely rebuild his body. Huron, however, would not have survived had he not made a bargain with the powers of the Warp as he lingered between life and death. Upon his restoration, he found himself with a demonic familiar dubbed the Hamadria as part of whatever this bargain entailed. He gave himself the name of Blackheart and renamed his chapter the Red Corsairs. Though weakened, the Red Corsairs soon re-established themselves and remain a threat in the Maelstrom region to this day. Based out of their new headquarters, a world in the Maelstrom they named New Badab, Huron transformed his forces into something of a pirate legion, attacking Imperial forces and stealing their vessels for use in his ranks. There have also been several instances, such as the battle for the Space Wolves strike cruiser Wolf of Fenris, where Space Marines from loyal chapters have defected and been welcomed by Huron, swelling the ranks of his Red Corsairs ever more. This unusually tolerant chaos philosophy he has fostered in his empire has allowed the Red Corsairs to become a quite large force, boosted by others, mortal, alien, or Astartes, who have shunned the Emperor. Speaking on Huron's philosophy, he is unusual as a chaos commander in that he is primarily motivated by secular goals. His forces are not particularly reverent towards the gods or demons, even though they do engage in magic for their own personal power. He espouses a might makes right philosophy, and so long as you can survive in his brutal empire, you are welcome into its ranks, though he is always mindful of usurpers. On a galactic scale, Huron is disinterested in the Great Game, and even other Chaos Space Marines crusades, such as those engaged by the Black Legion. His only real objectives are to enrich himself, expand his ranks, and bring down the Imperium, which turned its back on him. By the end of the 41st millennium, Huron had succeeded in a modest few of these aims and had amassed a sizable force, allowing him to become a major player in the galaxy. Aided by Fate Weaver, during the Terran Crusade, Huron's Lieutenant Verngar was able to capture the awakened Primarch Guilliman and his forces on their pilgrimage to Terra. However, thanks to the efforts of Cypher and the Primarch, most of the captives were able to escape. Verngar then returned to New Badab, with the captured Macrag's honor in tow, though Huron scolded him for allowing the Primarch to get away. Later, sometime after the formation of the Great Rift, Huron dueled Typhus of the Death Guard as Warp Storm Fomori engulfed the world of Danassar. Atop the ruins of the Endless Spire, Huron was humbled, but Typhus left him alive as a lesson to his might and generosity. Huron later pursued Verngar as he left New Badab aboard the Macrag's honor in a search for the relic known as the Ebon Talon. After a temporary alliance, Verngar attempted to use the relic to usurp Huron, but was maimed after the two engaged in battle. Huron was able to take the Ebon Talon from Verngar and utilize its power, but not fall under its influence, as his attempted usurper had. Sometime after this, Huron led the Red Corsairs against the White Scars in an invasion of the Scars' homeworld, Chagoris. Though they were ultimately defeated, Huron's forces succeeded in holding many worlds of the Yasan sector, and for a time captured and tortured Jubal Khan, the chapter master of the Scars. Most recently, Huron has been sighted with a sizable force, fighting off Drukhari, leagues of Votan, and Eldar Corsair forces over a number of valuable treasure troves at the edge of the Galactic core. Besides that, his forces have naturally benefited from the Great Rift's expansion, and their raids, once contained to the immediate sectors around the Maelstrom, now reach far and wide. Huron, however, is still one-mindedly focused on one mission: destroying the Imperium he once served. Thank you for listening to this entry from the Warhammer 40,000 Lexicanum.